engines of the North Western Railway are immensely proud of the stories written by the Rev.W.Awdry that have entertained and delighted children the world over. The stories have stood the test of time, and the engines were wondering how the Fat Controller would celebrate their 70th anniversary. But the Fat Controller had other ideas. Thomas the Tank Engine and his friends aren't the only famous literature that have enchanted children. In fact, this book was written decades before the Reverend put pen to paper. The Railway Children, written by Edith Nesbit, was published in 1906 and has become a true British classic. It was made famous after being transformed into a film in 1970, and ever since then has been regarded as one of the best children's films in British cinema. The Fat Controller decided to honour the 45th anniversary of the film by organising a special 3-day event, a special tribute from one famous railway book to another. The Fat Controller came to speak to his engines about his plans. "I think this will be a great tribute to another inspiring children's novel," said the Fat Controller. "Now I am going to give certain engines key roles that similar engines had in the film. Donald, you shall become the Green Dragon, and Douglas, you shall be assigned to pull the Scotch Flyer." Douglas was very pleased, but Donald seemed confused. "You're not going to be painting me green, are you, sir?" he asked worriedly. The Fat Controller chuckled. No, not at all. You will remain black, but the engine used was a Lancashire and Yorkshire goods engine, a similar design to yourself, so you are perfect for the role." Donald felt flattered. "Doc, you shall be the old gentleman's engine. As you know, your brother number 5775 was made famous through this film. It seems only fitting to have another pannier tank as the main attraction." "Oh, thank you, sir," Duck beamed. "Thomas, you shall be the everyday engine, like the tank engine they used, and Emily, you shall star in the theatre production at Tidmouth Station, just like your brother Sterling number 1 has done." The engines were very happy and felt privileged to be chosen. Percy was a little confused. He'd never heard of the book before. "What is it all about?" he asked. Thomas explained. "It's about a family who moved to the Three Chimneys, a house near the railway after their father, who works at the Foreign Office, is imprisoned after being falsely accused of spying. The 3 children befriend the station porter and the old gentleman who always takes the 9:15 train near their home. After many adventures involving a Russian exile, rescuing a boy injured in a tunnel, and preventing a train crashing into a landslide, the old gentleman eventually is able to help prove their father's innocence, and the railway reunites the family once more." "It sounds like a wonderful story. It was filmed on the Keighley and Worth Valley Railway 45 years ago. That's why we're celebrating it," added Duck. "It all sounds very exciting," puffed Percy. "Do you think the driver will be able to read the book to me?" "I dunna think he needs to," joked Emily. "You'll pick everything up as we go along." The other engines laughed. They couldn't wait for the event to arrive. One engine who couldn't get into the spirit of things was Gordon. He thought the idea was silly. "It's got nothing to do with our anniversary, so why on earth are we celebrating it?" he complained. "Because it's something different," huffed Emily. "It's just a waste of time. Gordon, why don't you just shut up? You're the one who's a waste of time," grumbled Thomas. "I beg your pardon." "Hey, there's no point explaining it to you. You'll only complain because you're not the centre of attention. The world doesn't revolve around you, Gordon, and neither should children's railway books be solely associated with our railway. This is a tribute, not that you'd understand." Gordon insufferably rolled his eyes and puffed importantly away. Thomas and Emily took no notice. Later that afternoon, Thomas stopped at a station. Some school children ran up to him. "Guess what, Thomas," said the boy. "Me, Alice and Linda have been given the roles as the three children in the theatre production." "Congratulations," puffed Thomas. "You must be very excited." "Oh, we are. It's not every day you get to perform a show on a railway." The two children ran off to board the train, but the eldest, Linda, who was to play the role of Bobby, seemed upset. "What's wrong?" asked Thomas kindly. Linda sighed. "My father is in the army. He was meant to be coming back from Afghanistan today. I was hoping he'd make it back in time to see the show." "Afghanistan? I thought the war was over there." "It is, but there are still lots of things to sort out, apparently. I miss him so much. I wish he'd come back." "Don't worry," soothed Thomas. "Your father will be back soon. He's probably on the next train home right now." Linda gave a small smile, but she very much doubted it. She boarded the train sadly, and Thomas steamed away in dismay. A few weeks later, and the first day of the Railway Children event arrived. The engines had been repainted and polished. They gleamed proudly in the sunlight. Many visitors came from far and wide to the event. The big station was very busy and extra trains had to be organised. Gordon was feeling grumpy, but his miserable attitude didn't dampen the other engines' enjoyment. "I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's just an old story," he muttered to himself. At different stations, certain reenactments were performed by the three children from the film. Gordon had to take the visitors to these performances. He thought such a duty was beneath him. "Stop sulking, Gordon," grumbled his driver. "You'll spoil everyone's fun." Gordon seemed to loathe the idea of the other engines, who had been given important roles, to overtake him and steal all the limelight. Donald soon flew past as the Green Dragon. Then Douglas raced past with a Scotch Flyer. "Disgraceful," hissed Gordon under his breath. Finally, Duck steamed past with the old gentleman's train. Duck whistled happily as the performers and all the passengers waved cheerfully as Duck trundled through. Gordon remained stone-faced. He was the same the next day. He still couldn't understand it. All the other engines seemed to relish in all the festivities. That afternoon he returned to Tidmouth Station with another packed train. Percy was helping the workmen transform the station into a stage for the show. "This all seems a little unnecessary," scoffed Gordon. "Apparently not. The show is sold out. It's very popular. It's been shown in London, York, and other countries too," said Percy. "I'm to be a part of it too." "Why would they let a small engine like you be in a show?" "I'm to help Emily enter and leave the stage safely. She's not allowed to be in steam." "Some show that will be." "Have you ever seen the Railway Children?" asked Percy. "No, I don't have time to read children's books." "Well, I haven't either. It's meant to be quite good. After I've seen it tonight, I'll tell you all about it," replied Percy innocently. "Oh, goody." Gordon slunk away with his empty coaches. That evening, hundreds of people came to see the show. Linda and the other actors put on a fine performance, and the presence of Emily made the show even more impressive. Percy watched carefully. He soon came to his own conclusion that the Railway Children in his eyes was a masterpiece. Whilst on stage, Linda would glance at the audience, hoping to catch the sight of her father, but unfortunately, he was nowhere to be seen. The next morning, Percy told Gordon all about the play. "It's magnificent," he puffed. "It's a very endearing tale, with a beautiful ending that tugs on the heartstrings." Gordon seemed intrigued, but said nothing as he puffed away to collect his coaches. It was the final day, and there were more visitors than before. Gordon's mood had improved. He was still curious about what Percy had told him. Perhaps there was more to the railway children than Gordon first had thought. At the end of the day, the visitors were all heading home. Linda was standing on the platform. She had been given great reviews about her performance, but she still didn't feel content with the absence of her father. Gordon stood at the station with his train, waiting to leave, when Thomas steamed in. Gordon gave a tearful smile. That evening at the sheds, Gordon spoke quietly to Thomas. "You were right about the railway children. I didn't understand, but I do now. It's not just a story. It reminds us of what the spirit of the railway truly is. It was right of the Fat Controller to pay tribute to it. It deserves to be acknowledged." Thomas grinned at the big blue engine. "I think the railway children encaptures the spirit of the railway more than we ever could in our stories. It shows the world that you must look beyond the elements of us being a mode of public transport, and something that you can so easily be taken for granted, just like families. The railway is an important lifeblood to every individual. When the free railway children befriended the railway and treated it as a living being, the railway responded by returning their father home to them. We're not just lumps of steel that follow an iron road. In the eyes of children, we can be magical and alive." Gordon smiled humbly. "I couldn't have put it better myself."